We're not through yet.
7 days a week.
You'll be amazed at what my Auric XL, even at 8.5 pounds, picked up.
Call us now.
Call us now. Call now, and I'll also send you my Auric compact vacuum absolutely free.
Your credit card ready.
Hey, hello. Hey, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? Hello? Hey.
Welcome to Emerging Tech Mastery, a show that demystifies cutting-edge technology like cryptocurrency, the blockchain, metaverse, NFTs, virtual reality, the maker movement, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud, edge, and even fog computing. Strap in as we ride into the fourth industrial revolution. Emerging Tech Mastery provides actionable knowledge, regardless of skill level, from experts in the trenches. We piece together this intel in easy-to-consume media formats, processes, and procedures. See you in the future.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on another episode of Emerging Tech Mastery. This is going to be a solo episode, and on this episode we're going to be going into why I do not like the Raspberry Pi. After I went over the episode of why I do like it, I also encountered some challenges soon after, and also remembered some of the challenges I had getting to that point, so I really felt it would only be fair for me to say what I don't like. And what I don't like is really just little hardships and things that you really maybe have to learn the hard way. So hopefully I can shortcut your challenges and pitfalls, frankly. So, it's nothing like technically wrong with it. It's really just areas that I kind of struggled, to be frank with you. But you know what? Let's do the clickbait thing with this title. And let's start with number one. The SD card, which is what you flash to put the operating system on, which then goes in the Raspberry Pi. So the SD card and the sort of data situation around the SD card is very fragile. What I mean by that is you essentially are running your entire computer on this little card. It's like a little mini sort of chip looking thingy. It's really cool, really powerful, but I think it needs to be said, you definitely don't want to rely on that too much. So that would mean have another USB attached where you can save your data, and I'm kind of finding my legs with that myself, but I've definitely made that mistake where I sort of relied at actually having some documents on the SD card, and that super messed me up when, guess what, they're known to burn out, right? So that's a little bit of I wouldn't say a deal breaker, but you have to be super careful not to rely too much on that SD card. Be ready for that thing to sort of kick at any time. So keep your data somewhere else. You can also do these backups of your settings on time shift, I believe. So you could back up your Pi, sort of like your setup and all the stuff you had installed. And you could install, you could back that up somewhere else, right? So you could actually take that backup and put it on a separate, not the SD card, and get beyond that. But nonetheless, I'm getting into the solution there. Nonetheless, very fragile situation, so do not rely on the SD card, and you have to be careful that that thing can fail. Number two, so if you didn't know it, the Raspberry Pi runs on an ARM processor, which is not the same as a PC or Mac or whatever sort of laptop, device. So it's actually a separate processor, and every program essentially is an ARM processor, and apps is what I was trying to say. So it limits applications and functionality. What do I mean by that? There's certain things like I was trying to run VirtualBox, which is a virtual machine, like a VM. And there might be workarounds that I don't know about that other people know how to do. Obviously, you could use the cloud or something, but I'm just saying running it actually on the device. I tried installing things like Brave. I tried installing like this VPN. I couldn't do it. Couldn't run those on an ARM processor. So if you need to run certain programs that don't run on ARM, yeah, you're done. You're not going to use that on the Pi. So that's definitely not fun. Not definitely a do not like. But again, there's so many other things you can do. So like I said, not super deal breaker. Okay, number 3. It is small and fragile and has lots of wires going to it. So not going to name names. Not going to point any fingers. But there may have been some headphones that were wrapped around the chair, which connected to the mic, which connected to the Pi, and I may have pulled, not me. Who said me? No, we said no finger pointing here. What the heck? Somebody may have pulled the chair a little quickly and got pretty lucky, but, got pretty close to jostling the darn Pi. Not cool. So that could have gone really bad. Everything's sort of connected. That thing could fall down really easily. Also be careful if you're in a small place. And spills, if you're doing some liquid based things close to it and the worst happens, yeah, not good. So I also like to run with the tops off, if you will, just for better sort of ventilation. But yeah, if you have the case on, yeah, you're a little bit protected, but you could still get in a lot of trouble. So be really careful about that. Anything you got going around it, the elements or animals or, liquids or whatever, right? Be careful with that. It's definitely small and fragile. It is a small thing. It's kind of like pros and cons, right? Phones are more optimized to be beat up. This thing, not so much. All right, number 4, it requires a separate screen to connect to and see. Pretty self-explanatory, but that means you have to have a TV screen or, one of those computer screens. I mean, I have seen screens that you can connect to it that are sort of smaller, but again, you're going to have to pay for that. So I would say definitely the separate screen is a little bit of a, it just is another thing you have to carry around to see it, to be able to see. Yeah, you can do it headless display and stuff like that, maybe connect from a different device. But again, that's a little more advanced. It's nice to just plug and play and do what you got to do, right? Without doing anything funny. Number 5 is the learning curve is a little bit difficult at first. You have to learn a little bit of Linux. You have to install the stuff on the card. And I've played with Ubuntu, and I'm really liking Raspberry Pi OS. So knowing what operating system to use or not, and everyone might have some different takes on that. And then there's the hardware itself that you're using, installing something on an SD card, and you have to put it in this USB dongle and then put that in your laptop or other computer. There's a little bit of a funny, you're bumbling around a little bit to get going. So you got to push through that. It's totally worth it. But yeah, the learning curve is definitely, not as much a dislike now. But then again, when you want to do more advanced stuff, you have to keep going through this all over again, right? So something to keep in mind. Number 6, they are getting expensive, and I feel bad recommending them when they're starting to get upwards of $100, where you could just get a mini computer for that. But that's no fun, right? So I definitely think there's those smaller sort of half Pis and other generations that are not the full-on single computer board. They're smaller pieces. You can do certain smaller things with that if you do want to do that, and they are cheaper. But the main ones are expensive. I will say that. So that kind of goes without saying, right? Number 7, it requires a plug-in power source, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal because usually we're right by an outlet. But hey, if you want to be mobile or you want to do something outside, well, now to get an extension cord or have some crazy battery setup that you could plug into. But again, one more thing, like I was saying, not quite plug and play. And I think we're very spoiled with mobile. But, something to keep in mind if you are going to play with that. That's something you're going to have to deal with. Number 8, it requires ongoing maintenance and troubleshooting. Yes, it does. Things will stop working. You have to update it regularly. PiOS is pretty good about updating, but you may want to do it manually. And, if you have a lot of stuff installed, certain things can sort of break and crash and go a direction you don't want, especially if you're tinkering a lot. So that's back to that whole time shift, back things up. I'm still mastering all that, but again, if you can do it from the get-go, more power to you, you know. So that was all I had, but I thought of another one, number 9, as we were going, and we're well under 15 here, so I'm feeling good about it. So you have to kind of keep buying more stuff, right? And I guess that's always the case, right? Even if you have a cell phone or a computer to some degree, that's just the nature of tech. However, the Raspberry Pi is very specialized, so I did just get like the Raspberry Pi high quality camera and a couple lenses, which I'm actually super stoked and excited about. So you might actually get to see me here soon. I wanted to be a little bit of a purist with the Pi. Yeah, I could have filmed myself with the phone, but you know, I was not trying to do that. You know, I'm kind of trying to be a little bit of a purist here. So it's all part of the fun, right? I'm on the Pi now and talking about the Pi. Maybe it knows that I'm talking about it. I don't know. Is it like a pet? It's getting strange, right? But yeah, so I think that's a good number 9. Yeah, you know, you're going to have to sort of keep up with it, and you're going to get excited and, now I want a camera on it. Okay, well, now I need to buy the module. With that said, it's not so expensive, I think, compared to so many other pieces of tech. You know, these accessories, they really try to get you. And I haven't felt too bad about investing in it. You know, especially, I mean, I know it's not exactly like those consumer or prosumer cameras, but it's pretty cool up there. I think the original thing's like 12 megapixels, so that's not bad. But anyway, I think that puts us at a good level, and I think those are some good reasons why I do not like the Pi. I think we came out to 9 reasons there. And yeah, definitely don't be afraid to jump in. And now I gave you some heads up that these are going to be some challenges, so you can sort of be aware if something comes up, and maybe build this in as well to just, you know, things like what you're going to need if you want to use it in a certain way, you know, like trying to be mobile. Like I'm trying to work on being more mobile. Like I would love to turn it into a whole mobile podcast setup, but then I realized, oh man, this is actually a little complicated because, you know, like with our phones, we just carry them everywhere. Not the case here. So definitely keep it in mind, but you can do plenty with it, just stationary, and that's probably the best way to start out, to be frank. So no need to get too fancy, unless you have a thought of where it could go and be somewhere crazy. And if that's the case, feel free. But thank you for listening on this episode of The Reasons I Do Not Like the Raspberry Pi, and I will see you on the next one. Have a great one.
Raspberry Pis, we bake Raspberry Pis here.